and welcome to another edition of Water Wellness and the importance that water has on our lives. Today, University of Maryland Extension Water Quality Specialist Dr. Andy Lazor is going to talk about microplastics and nanoplastics, more prevalent in bottled water than we thought. So Andy, the last podcast was about PFAS in the environment, including our drinking water. And this month we are talking about another major pollutant, plastics. This is kind of scary and makes me wonder about the water I drink. So what are microplastics?
Yeah, Elizabeth. Well, first off, a little bit of background. We are now facing a global issue with both PFAS and microplastics. And we're constantly learning more about them and the risks to both the environment and our health. There is indeed need for concern, and we should all be aware of this type of pollution so that we can reduce our exposure and protect our health. And we also need to know more about these pollutants so that we can also be better stewards of our environment. Knowing our drinking water quality is huge for us and for our health, and that is why we're raising public awareness of these contaminants. So to your question, what are microplastics? Well, simply, microplastics are basically small particles of plastic as they break down. They range from size from a pencil eraser down to the size of dust, bacteria, or virus. That's microplastics. Microplastics, though, break down further into nanoplastics, which are so small, less than a micron, that they can't even be seen by the human eye. And then some microplastics are manufactured specifically because of their small size, and they're used in a variety of products that we use daily, including cosmetics and certain biomedical products. Whereas other microplastics, they break down from larger plastic products such as carpets, fabrics, tires, plastic packaging, bottles. On a side note, it's interesting that the number one source of microplastics and nanoplastics to our surface waters, including our oceans, is actually fabrics. So you think about that. We're all wearing clothes. They're all made of different synthetic material that has a lot of different components to it, including plastics. And then our carpets, draperies, all of this stuff is, creating dust or getting washed in our clothes dryer, and it's going out to our wastewater treatment plants and the surface waters and to our ocean. So it is kind of surprising because most people would think, well, it's just our plastic waste, containers and bottles, but it's actually fabrics. And then second most common source of plastics are tires. And if you think about that, all the people driving, right? And every time you drive down the road, you're wearing that tire. It's not rubber. I mean, there's rubber in there, but it's mostly synthetic products, including plastic. So that's how we're polluting our environment, both not only our water, but our air. I mean, we pick up microplastics and nanoplastics by inhalation from dust. And we also, we'll pick it up in our food and such like that.
Okay. So why is there concern about this plastic pollution?
Well, okay. So adding on to what I just mentioned about all these day-to-day products that we use that have plastic in it. Plastics have been around for decades, and they're in thousands of products that we use. And so what happens is that they accumulate in our environment. They accumulate in our soils, they accumulate in our water. So that's a big concern. And then they're also found pretty much everywhere. Okay, in our water, in the wildlife, in our foods, and that could be plants and animals, and of course in us. Research is showing more and more about this contaminant and how extensive it is in the environment, but also in our bodies. It's found in our blood, our lungs, our body waste, and even in fetuses. So this is a very, very concerning contaminant that we need to be concerned about. And then, so what does that mean when it's inside our bodies? What does it do to us? It causes several respiratory diseases, cancer, and actually even reduces our immune response, heart issues, and then inflammation. And we know how important inflammation is to our health. So the other thing that's really kind of concerning about microplastics is that research has shown that these very small particles can actually serve as a vector. So what that means is they can transmit disease, because what happens is these particles can get colonized by bacteria and virus particles and other types of contaminants that then we are either ingested or inhaled by not only us but other animal species as well.
So what specifically about drinking water do we need to be aware of?
Yeah, so first off, microplastics have been found essentially in all our water. That includes our surface water, streams, rivers, oceans, in our groundwater, in our wells, or springs, and obviously our drinking water. The other thing about drinking water is previous research had shown that bottled water, because they're typically, in a plastic container, had a number of microplastic particles ranging from a few dozen to a few hundred. However, a new study using a lot more sophisticated imaging technology can actually detect nanoplastics. And these, again, are those small, invisible particles. And it actually showed that 3 popular brands of bottled water had far greater numbers, 200,000 to 240,000 particles per liter. That is huge. Therefore, this is a really highly, I think, important study and new technology, and has even greater implications to our health.
Yikes, this is huge. What can we do to protect ourselves?
Well, here's part of the good news, is that we can actually do a lot. So again, if bottled water is a major source of microplastics that we take in, and drinking water is so important. One thing obviously would be is not to use plastic bottles. Okay, drink water from your home. Be sure that your drinking water at your home is of good quality. Check with your utility, a water utility, if you're on public water, and see how they're treating the water for microplastics. And then in general, when we think about plastics, which again, if you look around where you currently are right now, I see dozens of plastic things, okay? And these things have a lifespan, okay? And then what do? We throw them away, right? And so they get into our waste streams, and then ultimately are polluting our environment. So there's a lot of things that you can do. Try to avoid using what's called single-use plastics, okay, or disposable products, okay. I'm guilty of this, as I think we all are. But this is all about awareness. What can we do differently? And it's some of it is kind of a major change to the things that we do day in, day out. So you have to be very conscious of this, and it's challenging, but we all need to do it. The other thing is consider using aluminum foil instead of plastic wrap. Okay, and here's one of the reasons. Only about 14% of our plastics are recycled, whereas aluminum, it's over 80%. So that's a huge thing. So again, it's a change. May even add cost to our wallet, so to speak, but it's important. And then also look for biodegradable plastic alternatives. Some of these are potentially more environmentally friendly. Another thing that could be huge, and a huge change for each of us, is to consider buying natural fiber products. Wow. I mean, I would probably have to throw away half my wardrobe in my closet, if I went to cotton and wool only. That's going to be a challenge, but could be a huge way. Because again, remember, fabrics are the number one source of microplastics and nanoplastics to our waters. So if we can get away from the polyesters, and again, it's a huge culture shift. It may take a super long time. And then the other question is, what's the production of cotton and wool? I mean, is there a limit there? So, and I know that natural products can cost more too. So there's that. Okay. Also think about your cosmetics and your personal care products. Okay. Not only how they are packaged, but what's in them. Are there some more natural ingredients that we can consider? Food storage, how many plastic food storage containers in different sizes with, bottoms and no lids that I have in our cabinet. What can I do about those? Well, okay, maybe recycle and then go to glass containers. Building material, using natural building materials, wood, instead of some of the plastics. I drove by a construction site not too long ago and just saw all this styrofoam that they use for concrete forms, and it's just being blown around in the wind. That's, we got some serious rethinking to do. And then you can go online, and actually there's several sites that have the companies that sell plastic-free products. So give that a thought, or at least look at it and kind of consider that. And then the other thing is, be proactive in your community. Maybe support some local legislation or policies towards reducing plastic use, recycling. There's such thing as a plastic ban, or a refund on plastic bottles, and then another initiative that's gaining popularity is this whole thing, what they call a Rethink Disposable campaign in your community. So again, these are just lots of different ideas, understanding that they're challenge for us all, but again, I think it's very important. And then lastly, I'll also say, inform your family, inform your friends. Let's get educated on this issue.
Wow, that was really informative and lots to think about. Thank you, Andy. If you'd like more information on water quality, septics, wells, groundwater, or ponds, please check out our state water quality specialist, Andrew Lazor's YouTube channel for videos and podcasts. That's Water Quality University of Maryland Extension. His website is Google UME Wells and Septics, or his Facebook page, University of Maryland Water Quality. Also, please register through our website for our next Wednesday water webinar on November 20th, where Andy will discuss drinking water, to filter or not filter. Thank you all again for tuning in.